Put it out there. Volunteers to read. It's Daniel chapter 7. It's a gem. There's no, there's one name, but just great stuff to read. Anybody? Any takers want to read this one this morning? No? That's all right. All right, I'll read it. You'll read it?
Yeah, if I can find my Bible. My Bible is being used for recording purposes.
Aha.
What is it again?
Daniel 7. And we'll get there in a couple minutes. All right then, I guess let's get started. Daniel 7, like I said. Let's do just a little bit of recap. This is our third week in Daniel. If you remember in the first chapter, we started with a test. We said Daniel was kind of like Abraham because he shows up in this strange land that he's been taken to, and the first thing is he has a test with food. With Abraham, there was a famine. He didn't have food. With Daniel, he's got plenty of food. He's got the king's food, but it's the wrong kind of food. So he is tested. In the second chapter, we have a dream. And the king has a dream, and no one's able to interpret it. This is a problem for Daniel because he gets a death sentence because someone else can't answer this dream. And it's a dream in the second chapter. In the third chapter, there's going to be a test again. Daniel's not here for some reason, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are going to have to decide if they're going to bow down to the golden statue, the golden image, or not. So we've had a test and a dream and a test. What do you think is going to be in chapter 4? A dream, right? A dream. A test, a dream, a test, a dream. And that's what we have. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream in chapter 4. And he's a great tree that's giving shelter to beast and man. And then he gets the mind of a beast. He's punished, but he is restored back to being a man. So we've had a test and a dream and a test and a dream. And what do you think is going to be in chapter 5? A test, but it's not a test. It's going to break the pattern for a minute. What comes in chapter 5 is just a judgment of Belshazzar. He doesn't have a dream. He has a vision. They're there at the party. It's not a dream, but it is kind of like a pronouncement of judgment on him. And the Bible does this a lot. I said it's like jazz music before. Anybody like jazz music? Any fans of jazz? We got one nodding. I'm not. But jazz music is all about you have a pattern and then it breaks your expectation. And then you have that pattern again, and then it breaks your expectation. Ron is nodding. That's what jazz music is. And that's what the Bible does, a pattern, and then it breaks your expectation. And in chapter 5, it's because 4 and 5 go together. It's like it's been inserted here out of place to contrast it with 4. We have 2 kings that are judged. And one of them is punished, or we talked about the dew of heaven's awesome, actually. So he's given the mind of a beast, but after a time he's restored back. And in chapter 5, of course, he's not. He's assassinated or he's killed, Belshazzar. We'll pick our pattern back up in 6. 6 is the famous story, Daniel in the lion's den, and that's a test because there's this decree that's issued and that you can't pray to anyone except for Darius. By the way, we've switched kingdoms in here. Through the first 5 chapters, we have Babylon, and then in chapter 6, we have the Medo-Persian king. Did I get that right? And Darius is the king. By the way, the Persian Empire, Esther. That's where that story is set. So we have switched kingdoms. And you remember the thing about the law that was really important in Esther? Like what happens when the king writes a law? Can't change it. Got the same thing in Daniel chapter 6. And so there's a test. Is he going to pray to Darius, or is he going to keep on praying to God? He's going to pray to his God, and his God's going to save him from the lion's den. Now, what's come in chapter 7? We had test, dream, test, dream, test. Chapter 7, dream. Okay, we're back to that. And go. Okay, it's kind of long. I didn't mention that. But we read the whole thing? All right, let's go.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and visions passed through his mind as he was laying in bed. He wrote down the substance of his dream. Daniel said, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me were four winds of heaven churning up the great sea. Four great beasts, each different than the other, came up out of the sea. First was like a lion, and it had wings of an eagle. I watched it until its wings were torn off, and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a human being. And the mind of a human was given to it."
Okay, and I didn't mention this either. I'm going to stop you a couple of times throughout this. This first beast is a lion. What did we have in the previous chapter? A lion. He's in the lion's den. And we have the lion, who's a beast, given the mind of a human. What do we have in chapter 4? A human being given the mind of a beast, and then a human again. And what happened to those lions in the previous chapter? Like, what did beasts do? That they're hungry and you give them food, they eat, but these do not. Now, Daniel's going to say God sent his angel and the angel shut the mouths, but here we have the lion being given the mind of a human. But all right, go on.
"And there before me was a second beast, which looked like a bear, and it was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. It was told, 'Get up and eat, and eat your fill of flesh.' After that I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard, and on its back it had 4 wings like those of a bird. This beast had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. After that, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was a 4th beast, terrifying and frightening. It was very powerful. It had large iron teeth, and it crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. While I was
Okay, let's pause again. So we had a lion and a bear and a leopard, lions and bears. Oh my! A lion and a bear and a leopard. And what does this 4th beast look like? Doesn't tell us. Well, it's got iron teeth and bronze claws, but it doesn't tell us what it is. Is it bronze claws or is it? Anyway, we get told about its teeth and its claws, iron teeth, and it's got claws. All right, go ahead.
I'm trying to find which.
Oh, sorry. Verse 8.
8, okay. While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being, and a mouth that spoke boastfully. As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze.
Wheels? What? Do thrones have wheels in them? What's going on? Okay, I'll keep going.
A river of fire was coming out from it before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were open. Then I continued to watch, because of the boastful words the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and thrown into a blazing fire. The other beasts had been stripped of their authority, but were allowed to live for a period of time. In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like the Son of Man, coming with clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and people of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. I, Daniel, was troubled in spirit, and the visions that passed through my mind disturbed me. I approached one of those standing there and asked him the meaning of all this. He told me and gave me the interpretation of these things. The 4 great beasts are 4 kings that will rise from the earth, but the holy people of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. Then I wanted to know the meaning of the four beasts, which was different from all the others, and the most terrifying, with its iron teeth and bronze claws. The beast that crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head, and about the other horns that came up, before which 3 of them fell. The horn that looked the most imposing than the others, and that had eyes and a mouth that spoke boastfully. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the holy people and defeating them, until the Ancient of Days came and pronounced judgment in favor of the holy people of the Most High. And the time came when they possessed the kingdom. He gave me this explanation. The fourth beast is a fourth kingdom that will appear on the earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the most holy and oppress his holy people, and try to change the set times and the laws. The holy people will be delivered into his hands for a time, times and half a time. But the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him. This is the end of the matter. I, Daniel, was deeply troubled by my thoughts, and my face turned pale, but I kept the matter to myself.
All right, Daniel's troubled. Told us that twice, ends with that. Daniel's troubled. Before I get started, I want to give you all a chance, because I might start talking and you won't get me done until it's the end. What questions do you have? What thoughts do you have as you read this?
A lot's happening here.
A lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. We are studying this chapter this morning because you cannot hope to understand Jesus unless you understand this chapter. You've got no chance at all to understand Jesus. What titles does Jesus take for himself? The Son of Man. The Son of Man. Now what's interesting is the Son of Man, that phrase shows up, I'm pretty sure it's 100 times. It might be 99. 100 times. It means the son of Adam. Adam, first man. His name means man. That's what God called the first man. Son of Man means a person, a man. I think before we talked about this whole son of. You could go back and pick a forefather and say you're the son of this person, and it's to mean that you're like some attribute of them. Son of David, you're royal, you're a ruler, or maybe you're a musician or a poet. To say son of man is just to say you're a man. And 99 times throughout the Old Testament, it just means a man. You're a man. But in this one place, it's used here, and what it means is a man. We'll get to that. That's what it means. But when Jesus says the Son of Man, he's referring to this chapter. So we've got to know what this chapter is about if we have any hope whatsoever of understanding Jesus. And Jesus is going to refer to this chapter a bunch of times, as we'll see this morning. Okay, that's why we're in it. Some things I want you to notice. I meant to do this before, but in the recap. We had how many kings that are mentioned? You might have missed it. So we have Nebuchadnezzar first. We have Belshazzar in chapter 5. We got a new king, new kingdom, Darius. It's 3 kings. But come on, there can't be 3 kings. What number keeps showing up in these visions? How many kingdoms are there? 4. There's always 4. There's always 4. And so at the very end of chapter 6, so Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus, the Persian. We get our 4th king. There's 4 kings. Now, where do I start? Let's start with this. Anybody ever seen the Andy Griffith Show? Anybody? I mean, come on. Surely you saw the rerun on TBS, or all of the reruns. Now, the show is carried, come on, who carries the show? Who makes the show? Barney. Now, the thing about Barney is he's kind of excitable, right? When the sergeant from the state police comes down and says, we got an escaped criminal, dangerous criminal. He's in Mayberry. I need your help to round him up. What's Barney do? Get the guns. Andy, I need my bullet, Andy. You got to give me my bullet. And he's like, I don't know, the last time I gave you your bullet, you fired the gun off when it was in your holster. I can't. Oh, Andy, come on. Now that's Barney. Now what's Andy going to do? Well, Sergeant, why don't you come over? Let's eat some fried chicken, some of Aunt B's fried chicken. Then we'll go sit on the front porch and drink a Coke, and I'll strum my guitar. I reckon that criminal will be right along once he smells the fried chicken. And if you've seen the show, you know I am exaggerating just a little bit about Andy and none whatsoever about Barney. That's exactly what Barney is. Now, is Daniel like Barney, or is he like Andy? Is he excitable? No, he keeps his cool, right?
Except he does say he's troubled in spirit and he's disturbed by what he envisions.
That's the point. That's exactly the point, is that up to this point. Now, in the first, and he's a teenager in the first chapter, right? And somebody knocks on his door and is like, I have to kill you. Now, he doesn't seem upset. Now, he does spring into action. He's like, well, okay, I got to go. I got to deal with this. I got to talk to the king. I got to talk to my boys. We're going to pray. And he has a vision, or he basically it says he gets the interpretation. He goes down to sleep at night, and he must have seen the same dream that the king saw. And he gets the interpretation from it. And remember what he does after that? What do we have immediately following that when he wakes up? Praise God. He breaks into a song or a poem. Praise God, who's the God and who raises up kings and who deposes kings. Like, he's really happy about this. And the thing about that dream is it's the same dream, basically. Right? You got 4 kingdoms. They are replaced by the kingdom of God. It's exactly the interpretation of the first dream. It's going to be exactly the interpretation of this second dream, except this thing that is hard for us to grasp. I remember I said in the second chapter, when the king tells all his magicians and sorcerers and all, I need you to interpret this. And they're like, we can't interpret this. Only who could interpret this? The gods, and they're not here. They don't live here. Except in the third chapter, the son of the gods was here. And he walks through the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now in the 7th chapter, something extraordinary has happened. Something that to them is like insane. Because what? Because the Son of Man, a man, is in heaven with the Most High. Do you understand how crazy that is? That's insane. And in the first vision, it's like, okay, we have this statue and this rock that's been cut out of a mountain, not by human hands, comes in and it smashes the statue, right? And it becomes a mountain. And that mountain, it's a kingdom. It's a kingdom. But look what the angel tells him about this. The angel has like basically the same interpretation. The 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms. Let me read it exactly so we get it exactly, okay? He goes over, what verse does he go over and ask someone? where it happens. Okay, 17, the four great beasts are four kings that will rise from the earth, but the holy people of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. Now, this ought to be really interesting to Daniel, because Daniel is a descendant of who? Of David. We said that in the beginning. Esther is about a descendant of Saul. This is about a descendant of David. And what did God say about David's throne? It will last forever and ever. And where is Daniel? Carted off in exile to this other kingdom, right? And so when the angel tells him, he sees the Son of Man, a man is going up to heaven. Let me just stop there for a minute. Almost everyone in America, the majority of Americans, have a belief from the time that they were growing up. Because when you were a young person and your first experience with death, someone that you knew that died, and you don't really understand what's going on, and what were you told about what happens here? If you ask the question, what happened to Grandma? Someone told you, Grandma's went to be with Jesus. And you're kind of confused because you're like, well, that sounds great, but you don't look like it sounds great. Okay, but that's the belief that you had. That's not what they believe in this time. Now, I am not an expert. I have zero qualifications to tell you what these people believed about the afterlife. Let me point out, if you were reading Torah, the first 5 books, and you were looking for what it tells you about the afterlife, not much is an understatement. In fact, the only thing I could think of is that, well, there's Enoch, and Enoch was not, for God took him. If you were looking, now when you expand it through the rest of the Old Testament, there are some other things, right? But you kind of get this picture that like, well, they're sleeping, they're in the dust, they're in Sheol, which is not heaven. They're with their fathers, they're with, and the thing is, like, they're not really obsessed with it like we are. For one thing, there's very little that's there. What is there doesn't really tell us a whole lot about what's going on. But they certainly don't believe that when Grandma dies, she goes to be sitting beside of God in heaven. Daniel has just been shown that a man goes not just to, later on they have this place where they think like, well, you go back to the Garden of Eden, basically. And you're going to have a connection with God. Some other place, not in heaven with God, but some other place where you can have a connection with God and with your fathers. He's just seen that the Son of Man has went to heaven, and that the people of God are going to possess this kingdom forever and ever. I think somebody wrote a song about this, and they said, it's not good news, it's the best news ever. And Daniel is shook. Daniel has lost his color. If the writers of the Andy Griffith Show had wanted to write a horror episode, they don't do that. And by the way, they wrote a haunted house episode, and it is magnificent. It is Gomer and Barney and Andy all together, which you rarely get, the 3 of them together in rare form. It is the peak of the show. It's amazing, but it's not a horror episode, it's a comedy episode. It's funny. If they wanted to write a horror episode, you'd have to have the bad guy, the big baddie, right? Would you show the bad guy or the bad creature? No, certainly not in the beginning of the episode. You would instead hear about what it does, Or you might get a description. In fact, in Hollywood, you would have a woman watching what's going on. Ah! They wouldn't tell you exactly what the beast is or the man is. You would get some description. Notice what we've done in this chapter? You got a lion, a bear, a leopard, and the thing. Okay, and we get a description about what it's doing, and it's awful. And we have, can you imagine the effect if you're watching an episode of the Andy Griffith Show and Andy loses it? You're going to be scared. But the chapter's doing this thing where it's like, uh-oh, Daniel's scared. Daniel's terrified. Something's wrong. Except we've got a new person, which is like one person picked out of the hundreds of millions of people that Daniel goes to ask what's going on. Now, what does this person say? Is he scared? He's like, no. He's like, oh, do I have to explain this to you? Like, don't you have it by now? You got 4 kingdoms, and the people of God are going to crush them and come after them and be a kingdom that lasts forever. Yes, forever and ever. Like, what's wrong with you, Daniel? Don't you get this? So are we supposed to be scared of this beast or not scared of this beast? I don't know. You decide. You decide whether you're scared of this beast or not. You can follow Daniel or you can follow this person in heaven, I guess. That's part of the court. Questions so far? I mean, I'm sure you got questions. Any questions you want to voice? Okay.
It not only mentions the Son of Man being up in God's presence in heaven, but he's coming with the clouds of heaven.
Coming with the clouds.
And going to have power and authority over all nations.
So the questions that Daniel ought to have is like, wait a minute, are you saying that everyone is going to heaven? Because that's not what we believe. By the way, it says someone like the Son of Man. Do you mean like, is this one person who's the Son of Man that goes up there? Is it a representative of mankind that goes up there? Like, I got all kinds of questions. Wait, is this telling us something about the afterlife? When does this happen? When is the Son of Man coming? What does it look like? Daniel can't ask any of these questions because he's like, beast? What? Tell me about this beast. He's asking the wrong questions, okay? If he would have just asked the right questions, we'd know. Except we do know. We'll get to that. Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. Okay. Anything else we want to cover here before we go to Jesus? All right. Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. Is that going to get used later? Yes, it's going to get used later. It's going to get used in the Olivet speech, and it's going to get used when Jesus is before the high priest. I want to go there. Anybody want to read, it's just a couple verses this time. Matthew 26, 62 through 64. Just 3 verses. 3 verses. You got it? All right.
Then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing against you?" But Jesus remained silent. The high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." "You have said so," Jesus replied. "But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven."
Son of Man's coming on the clouds of heaven. Now here's the thing about us. We read this and we're like, oh, Jesus is saying that he's the Son of Man. And somehow we're like, well, that's the Son of God, even though the phrase is the Son of Man. What Jesus is doing is he's referring back to this chapter. That's what he's doing. That's why we have to understand this chapter if we want to have any hope of understanding what's going on in Matthew. But wait a minute. If he's saying that he's the Son of Man, what is he saying about the high priest? We don't make this connection as Westerners. To the people in this original audience, to the people that are standing there, that's going to become very clear here in a second. We know exactly what Jesus is saying. You're the beast. I should have done this before. Let me explain the problem with that. There are basically two groups of understanding about this prophecy here in Daniel. There's a group of people who've looked at history and they've studied history and they've got this all worked out. And like, I can't even spit it back to you, but like the lion is the Persian kingdom. And then there's Alexander the Great. And there's some other dude that went into the temple and did these blasphemous things. And it was the worst thing ever. And there's pig's blood and he changes the times. And there are people that have worked it out. And the whole thing happens before Jesus ever gets to this earth. There's another group of people that come along later, and they're going to make movies, and what's his face is going to be in them? Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron's going to be. This prophecy is going to make Kirk Cameron a movie star.
He actually backed out of it. He took, kind of recanted some.
Okay.
Changed his views on that.
Okay. And this whole view doesn't come until much, much later in history, that these are basically events that are going to lead up to the end times. And this is what's going to happen at the end of time. No one says, well, the high priesthood of Israel, of Judaism, is the super beast, except Jesus. Now, just stick with me for it. Maybe you're not buying that because no one else is buying it. No one else is buying it. Now, we as Westerners, like I said, we might just think like, well, Jesus is just saying this. He's saying he's the Son of God and that one day you're going to see him coming back on the clouds of heaven. Like that's... Watch how the high priest reacts. Read verse 65.
Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now, have you heard the blasphemy? What do you think? He is worthy of death," they answered. And they
So, all right, hold on. So he immediately is like furious. He's lost it. Because Jesus is saying, you're the fourth beast. You're the fourth beast. Let's say you still don't buy it. Okay, well, he lost it. Okay. What does this horn do, this horn on the beast? He does two things. He speaks boastful words, and he tramples or pummels or something the most holy one. Right? So if Matthew thinks that this high priest is the fourth beast, or maybe this horn that rises up on the fourth beast, then, I don't know, what did you expect? He's going to speak boastful words and pummel the most holy one. Now, keep going.
Then they spit in his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Messiah, who hit you?"
I think we have a horn. Wow, and we're almost out of time. Here's the thing about prophecy. I want to go into this whole spiel. I don't have time to go into this whole spiel about prophecy. We talked about Genesis 3, and your offspring, you're going to put enmity between you, snake, and the woman's offspring, and her offspring is going to crush your head. And what we decided about that, because JL literally crushes the snake's head, Saul defeats the snake, David literally crushes the snake, the giant who's described as a snake, his head. And what we said about this is, this prophecy is not like one thing that happens. That's not always the way prophecy works in the Old Testament, in the Bible. It's the way we think it works. We think prophecy is this cryptic message about something that's going to happen in the future, and it refers to one thing. We have gotten that idea from palm readers and from movies. Okay? Not from the Bible, because it's not how it works in the Bible. Prophecies, sometimes they do refer to one thing. They're not always cryptic. In Genesis 15, we've got a prophecy that's clear as day. God, in explicit detail, says what's going to happen to Abraham's offspring. They're not always cryptic. Sometimes they're cryptic. Usually when they're cryptic, it's because they are about how the world works. When Jesus says, like, you're the fourth beast, he's not saying that's what that prophecy was about, and that's the one thing that it was about. He's saying, that's what you're like right now. You're like the fourth beast. And the kingdom is coming. Is it coming thousands of years later? From now on, you will see the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. The holy people are going to inherit this kingdom. We don't want to accept that, because what happens to these holy people? They keep getting crushed even while they have the holy kingdom. That's the thing that's so hard to wrap our heads around. That's the reason why people over 1,000 years later read this and be like, this has got to be about the end times. It's got to be, because it doesn't look like Jesus is reigning. If he's reigning, he's not doing a very good job. We can't accept that Jesus is reigning. But the thing is, that's what the kingdom is the holy people being crushed while they're reigning. Any questions? I know you got them. But all right. That's Daniel.
He will come,
Okay.
and there will be an eternal victory for the holy ones. Correct?
I certainly believe that. But the thing is, it's right now. We're already, you don't have to wait for it.
Right.
You don't have to wait for it. It's here. If you want to be a part of it, it's here right now. You can join. You can do the work of the kingdom today. You can reign. It's yours. That's the point of this chapter. It's yours. It's not out there. It's in this room. If we want to possess it, if you want to grab it, if you want to be a part of it, it's right here. Actually, it's not here, because the work isn't in here. It's out there. We'll see that when we get to Jesus.